call the meeting to order and announce that there is a quorum present. Councilman White is detained this evening. He may not make it at all, but we do have a quorum present. So at this time, if you join me with a word of prayer. Our dear Heavenly Father, Lord God, thank you so much for giving us this day that we've joined together here to do the work and the business of the city. Lord, I pray that we will be able to conduct this in a fashion that is beneficial to our community and all that we stand for here. Lord, I thank you for the opportunity for this group of servants on this board who serve both you and our community. Lord, I thank you so much for our military who protect us, who guard for us so that we can have these types of meetings, that we can live in a free land. Lord, we thank you so much for them. Lord, I thank you most of all for your Son, Christ Jesus, who died for each one of us, and it's in his holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
And join us for our pledges. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. You want me to sit down? Next up is opportunity to get rid of that and say council announcements. This is an opportunity for council to share with each other and our citizens anything they may have an interest of. Council have anything they'd like to share? Well, guess what I do? I know y'all find that hard to believe, but in recent weeks, we've had a slew of things that all elected officials understand that they're just a part of. It just comes with the territory. We understand that we're not going to make everybody happy, although we try very hard. We do the best that we can, and at times the decisions that get made to govern a city or a community or a town or a large city or a small city are not always pleasing to everyone. And when those things happen, the absolute best thing that could happen is somebody to come to council or come to city or come to the individual that they have a problem with and address that. Unfortunately, in today's age of social media, it's just so much easier to bash somebody on social media. So I'm taking an opportunity right now to set myself up for that bashing that I know will come later, but I do want this said. These men and women who serve this community do so as a volunteer status. They do this because they want to. They do this because they love this community, and they do this for the same reason I do. I want to be a good servant. I try very hard. These men and women try very hard. So whenever somebody in the community who has no knowledge or a very short-sighted lack of knowledge goes and says ridiculous, rude, and I'll be blunt, just stupid comments on social media, yeah, we have thick skin. We get over it. But you know who doesn't? Our families, just like yours. The families out there that support us and care and worry when we come home and we're upset because we know this is part of it. So it may not do any good to say that out loud. I wanted it said, though. I want it noted that we are trying very hard to bring growth and to bring the potential to this city that for so long, so many citizens have asked us for and have said that they want. By doing that, we understand that when these comments get made, I want the rest of the citizens to know that by being quiet, by sitting back and just letting the loud voices be heard, and that's all that's heard, and usually that's such a misguided lead, that you are allowing the deterrence and the hardship of this city to continue on. What we're trying to do to grow are things that you need to speak up for, because that is exactly why we're here working. So again, we've had some specific items. We're going to address those tonight. But just understand that these false statements that are made, they're unnecessary roadblocks for our city growth. So if that's what you truly want, then continue on as it is. But if you want to see the growth that this council and staff has strived so hard to bring to our community, then please understand that we're all in this together. Okay. Again, that's my comment. So, council comments. Any other council members have anything? All right, if not, I will close the council comment section and we'll open it up for you. This is public comment section. You can do the same thing I did. You can get up here and say anything you want, with the exception of things that are under litigation by our attorney or personal attacks against individuals for our city. But as a whole, you may speak freely. You have 3 minutes to do so. Anyone? Okay, seeing no public comments, I will close the public comments section. We'll move on to our consent agenda. This is to consider and act upon approving minutes from the regular meeting of November 14th, 2023 as printed. Council's had an opportunity to look over your minutes and your agenda. Y'all have anything concerning those? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I move that we approve the minutes. Second.
Have a motion by Councilman Martin, seconded by Councilman Rector to approve the minutes as written. All those in favor? Passed unanimously, thank you. Moving on to 7.1. This is a presentation from Performance Services Incorporated. Yes.
Hi, thank you for letting us be with you tonight. I am Jenna Shadowitz. I am the Business Development Manager that has worked with you guys throughout our project.
I'm Greg Mizell, the Operations Manager for Performance Services in Texas, also involved in the project from the beginning.
We just wanted to come out and discuss with you and kind of recap our processes and procedures in light of some things that we had been seeing online. So I will let Greg take it over from here.
Sure, yes, thanks for the chance to address Mayor, Council, appreciate that opportunity. We've had a couple of projects underway with the city. One is a guaranteed energy savings contract. Just wanted to highlight that this contract was procured through TIPS, Texas Interlocal Purchasing System. It's one of the enabling procurement vehicles for public entities such as the city. It's in line with Local Government Code Chapter 302. We, after selection, did receive bids for subtrades that were not sole sourced in the project. We also, as the legislation requires, completed a third-party engineering review carried out by B Engineering, who the city of Clyde hired per the government code requirements to validate the accuracy of the engineering calculations and the savings calculations for the project. Second to that, we had a design-build project that was procured through an RFQ, request for qualifications. It was advertised by the city in accordance with Texas laws, and the city received and reviewed responses to the RFQ in addition to performance services and ultimately selected PSI.
Both different procurements are in line with their own legislations, like you mentioned. The Guaranteed Energy is a legislation of Local Government Code 302, but there is also design-build legislation for cities, and that is the procurement that went through. So it was all highly monitored, and we followed every step.
Right, and then just to kind of highlight some of the scope within the projects, the design-build project was the new Public Works building, which is complete, roughly 8,000 square feet, which houses the city trash trucks. And PSI utilized a mix of local contractors and some from not the near area, but many had previous experience with working with the city of Clyde. So, and then moving to the Guaranteed Energy Services contract, there were several scope items within this. Advanced metering infrastructure, AMI, which is updating the water meter technology for the city. We've completed that portion of the work, which is 1,694 water meters. There's manhole rehabilitation, which reduces infiltration and extra water coming into your treatment facilities. We rehabilitated 207 manholes. We replaced some clay pipes that were in need of replacement. We replaced lighting in 9 city-owned facilities with LED. We installed at the water treatment plant an 85 kilowatt solar PV array, which is also completed. All of these items have been completed already. We're currently engaged in the expansion of the water treatment plant. We have that scheduled for completion in March of next year, so in about 5 months, that will be complete. And
So every single item that Greg just listed, we had multiple bids on everything that was sole source, that wasn't sole source. I believe the water treatment plant is the item that had some sole source equipment that we could not bid out. Everything else from the meter selection, we provided multiple different meters to the city and discussed with city staff and evaluated what meters were going to be best. The city did not pick any individual contractors. We went out, got all bids. We were not just focusing on individual trades. So I think you can explain that a little better.
yeah, sure. Well, I think it's mostly coming to the point of we wanted to clear up that the city did not direct Performance Services to engage with any certain subcontractor or say that PSI could do this work if they used contractor X. So that was, it never happened and definitely untrue. Just related to the financing of the Guaranteed Energy Services contract, Performance Services does not provide the financing for the project. We don't do financing for public entities. The city has worked with a third-party financing company, and for the funding and payment of those funds under the project, the financing company sets up an escrow. The city doesn't have access to those funds except for when they receive an invoice from Performance Services. That then goes, it's reviewed and approved by the city, and then goes to the escrow, which gets approved for release of funds from the escrow to Performance Services. So again, there's no, I guess, changing of hands of the money. It's held in an escrow until those portions of the project are completed and the escrow releases funds to pay for that activity on the project.
And all of this is designed to make sure that there is nothing that would touch anyone who was not in line for this. So that is why the money was held in the escrow account, and all of it is dictated way beforehand.
And probably final thought is we're just working closely with city staff to complete this project. It's an exciting project to finish up, and we're excited to see it through. And would welcome any questions from council or mayor.
Well, first off, thank y'all. I mean, thank you for coming out here and helping explain some of that right there. That's great information to have. No, we council and staff's very excited and very happy with the services that we've gotten. I mean, our building, like you said, you touched on it right away. That Jerry's sitting over there in the back, and I'm sure he's quite happy with his building out there. So the fact that we can house our new trash trucks, which is part of this whole thing, and all the way down. So we're excited. We're glad. We appreciate y'all coming out. So
Of course.
I hate to, drag you out here for that, but these kind of things happen, they pop up, and it's just better to put everything to bed and put it to rest. So thank you all
Yep.
again for,
Appreciate that.
If there's anything we can do in the future, let us know.
absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Okay, moving on to 8.0. This is a public hearing. 8.1. The City of Clyde will hold public hearings on Tuesday, December 11th, 2023, and Tuesday, December 12th, 2023 at 6 p.m. at Clyde City Hall regarding annexation of the following property into the city limits of the City of Clyde. 3.4 miles of Interstate Highway 20 right-of-way out of the following sections and abstracts of the BB&C Railroad Company Survey in Callahan County, Texas. Section 53, Abstract 30, Section 60, Abstract 1699 and 1882. Section 61, Abstract 34, Section 66, Abstract 1494, and Section 75, Abstract 87. This public hearing allows an opportunity for anyone to speak on this annexation, and anybody want to talk about it? Come on up. Mr. Held, if you will just state your name and address for the record.
Tony Hill, live at 4700 Interstate 20 West, Clyde, Texas.
Okay.
I don't know what all those numbers are. I'm just curious where the 4.3 you're going that way, you're going this way, that's really all I wanna know.
Do we have,
So,
do you have?
yeah, so
This will help
what
you.
what it does is, city east to west takes in Interstate 20 that transects the north side of the city, south side of the city. It just,
From where? From Union Hill Road
Union
to
Hill
Eula
Road.
to?
from Union Hill Road to the city limits, just past Clyde Ranch Apartments.
So it is going to Union Hill Road.
Yes.
So what part of I-20 are you trying to take in?
It's bringing in the interstate so that everything inside city limits includes the Interstate 20,
Interstate, access road?
just the interstate. The access roads aren't coming in, this is just the thoroughfare of Interstate 20.
And what it does is it makes all of that contiguous. It grabs that whole section of the interstate instead of it as it is now being
Center line?
part of the interstate, and then just over the years as everything is expanded and grown out and everything. So you have part of the interstate. We call it all Clyde. I mean, we call it Clyde from from one end to the other end, but it's actually chopped up right there.
What's
So now
Clyde's intentions on as far as once this is in, you planning on reaching out and grabbing everybody that's
No,
on I-20?
no,
We can't.
we can't do that.
Voluntarily annexation into the city. So only if you come to us and say, hey, I wanna be part of the city limits, can we annex you in. This is just the state property, the state highway that a new state law that we can annex that into the
And
city.
TxDOT has approved it.
Okay.
Again, it's just that interstate section, not the properties on either side. It doesn't do anything other than just make that one solid line of interstate instead of a broken line of the interstate. It doesn't change anything or affect, it changes, it makes it a whole, but it doesn't affect anything that's already there, nor is it anything that we're trying to annex in over there, so I think that seems to be the concern that we're trying to annex
Well, it is.
in
I mean,
or.
that's like when you took in, well, I guess this way, you went to 120. Want to make sure you're not going down, trying to reach to 120 back to I-20, because then that puts my 21 acres and, I hunt, I burn,
Don't wanna be.
I shoot, I mean, I don't want to be in the city limits.
Well,
So that's my biggest concern is,
yeah.
I own property in the city, but I don't want to be in there just because of what I
Gotcha.
do.
Yeah.
All right, I would just check to see where it's
Yeah.
at.
It has no impact. We have no ability to annex anybody's property unless that property owner comes to the city and specifically requests to be annexed into the city.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tony, appreciate it. Anybody else would like to ask questions or discuss that? Okay, seeing nothing else on the public section of that, I will close the public hearing. We'll move on to 8.2. This is notice of public hearing on property located at 105 South First Street West. Clyde One Stop request is for, have we already? Yeah. Huh?
This is 8.2.
Yeah, 8.2.
Yeah, that's what I was reading, so I got that, annexation be heard. So now, notice of public hearing on property located at 105 South First Street West, Clyde One Stop. Request is for a conditional use permit so gaming machines, better known as eight-liner machines, can be placed and operated inside the business. The property is currently zoned as Commercial 1. The public hearing will be held at Clyde City Hall, 222 Oak Street on December 12, 2023 at 6 p.m. Any interested parties may appear at the public hearing to learn more about this case and make your opinions known. So this is an opportunity for public, yeah, if you want to come up.
No, they're gonna wanna wait till the agenda item. They're on the
Yeah,
agenda.
you guys are on the agenda to discuss that.
This
But
is
you
for the
can,
public.
yeah, they can make public comment if
Yeah.
they want to or anything, but y'all are on the agenda, so. Okay. Anyone want to discuss anything about this in the public hearing section? Okay, seeing none, then we will close 8.2, and this will go to the regular agenda, 9.0. 9.1 is to consider and act upon approving a resolution casting the City of Clyde's votes for the 2024-2025 Callahan County Appraisal District Board of Directors. Mr. McGuire?
So, Mr. Mayor, council, citizens, the City of Clyde's allocated 229 votes inside the Central Appraisal District Board of Directors. The nominees for this year are Ms. Karen Lenz from Callahan County, Ms. Donna McAdams from Baird ISD, Ms. Kelly McLaughlin, the City of Baird, Mr. Eddie Riley from Eula ISD, and Mr. Greg Welch from Clyde CISD. Historically, the council has put their votes to the Clyde CISD and Mr. Welch. So this is for you to decide. You can split your votes amongst all the candidates if you choose, or you can throw your votes behind the Clyde CISD representative, Mr. Welch.
Council have any thoughts or questions for Mr. McGuire concerning this?
I think Mr. Welch has done this for a number of years. He has served on the school board in Clyde forever. And has also represented them in a lot of state board groups and shows his leadership, and I think he's done a good job.
So historically, that's who you cast your votes for. So there's a breakdown in your packet on the amount of votes to each voting entity. And the Clyde CISD has over 1,000 votes in the voting block, and the City of Clyde has 229.
Council have any other questions?
And I guess since Mr. Welch's name is still in here, he's willing to serve?
Yeah, he's running. Yeah, the candidates that I named out are the official on the ballot.
All right, well, if no other questions, I'd entertain a motion to see where we want to cast our ballots.
I make a motion that we cast the ballots that are allotted to the City of Clyde for Mr. Welch.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Rector, seconded by Councilwoman Coffin. All those in favor? That passed unanimously. Thank you. 9.2 has actually been, as of this afternoon, it's been resolved, so there'll be no action on 9.2. 9.3, this is to consider and act upon adopting an ordinance of the City of Clyde, Texas, amending Chapter 4 Business Regulations of the Clyde Code of Ordinances to enact Article 404 gaming machines, to establish regulations regarding gaming machines, requiring registration, imposing an occupations tax, establishing penalties, and providing for publication and an effective date. I just had it, and I apologize. Mr. McGuire, while I'm getting going paper here, if you have anything you'd like to say on that.
Yeah, so as the City of Clyde currently has ordinances in place that prohibit the eight-liners. Eight-liners are considered unconstitutional by the state of Texas. And that was upheld in the City of Fort Worth versus Riley case. The ruling from the court was that eight-liners are illegal and they represent lotteries, which are prohibited by the Texas Constitution. The ordinance as written,
I've got it here, I'll read it.
you want to read
Yeah.
the,
I do wanna go ahead and read this ordinance, that's why. So this ordinance states, this is what we're discussing right now, what 9.3 is. Whereas the City of Clyde, the city, is a Texas general rule city operating pursuant to the laws of the state of Texas. Whereas Article 3, Section 47 of Texas Constitution prohibits lotteries unless otherwise allowed by the Constitution. Whereas Chapter 47 of the Texas Penal Code makes it a criminal offense to possess a gambling device, which includes a machine that allows a player to win something of value, the award of which is determined solely or partially by chance. Whereas Chapter 2153 of the Texas Occupations Code allows for the operation of bona fide amusement machines which are operated for amusement, skill, or pleasure, and which provide for nominal prizes. Whereas operators of certain machines known as eight-liners have long argued that Chapter 2153 of the Texas Occupations Code allows for the legal operation of eight-liners, but on March 17, 2022, the Court of Appeals of Texas in Fort Worth, in the case of City of Fort Worth versus Riley, found that eight-liners are unconstitutional and illegal, and they represent lotteries which are prohibited by the Texas Constitution. Whereas Section 2153.451 of the Texas Occupations Code allows for cities to impose an occupation tax on amusement machines governed by Chapter 2153, and Section 2153.453 of the Texas Occupations Code authorizes a city to seal a machine for which such a tax has not been paid and charge a fee of up to $5 for the release of a sealed machine. Whereas the City Council of the City of Clyde, the City Council, finds that in order to impose the occupation tax authorized by Section 2153.451 of the Texas Occupations Code, the city must require that amusement redemption machines be registered with the city. Whereas Section 2153.452B of the Texas Occupations Code allows cities to prevent amusement machines from being exhibited within 300 feet of a church, school, or hospital. And whereas the City Council finds that such a registration requirement will prevent illegal gambling devices, including eight-liners pursuant to the court's decision in Riley, from being used within the city, and that establishing a distance prohibition will protect the health and safety of the citizens of the city. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Clyde, Texas, that 1, incorporation of premises. The above and foregoing premises are true and correct and are incorporated herein and made a part hereof for all purposes. 2, findings. After due deliberations, the City Council has concluded that the adoption of this ordinance is in the best interest of the City of Clyde, Texas, and the public health, safety, morals, and welfare of its citizens. And 3, enactment of Article 4.04, Chapter 4, Business Regulations of the Clyde Code of Ordinances is hereby amended by adding Article 4.04, Gaming Machines, to read in its entirety as follows. All other provisions of Chapter 4 are not amended by this ordinance and shall remain in full force. I'm going to stop right there. There is 3 more pages of articles, and it begins the definitions of each and every one. What we look at is registration. So what I just read would be the updated ordinance if council decides to vote on that and pass that. That is, what I just read is what the new ordinance will be. It does affect some changes that we've had in place. We've talked about this. This has come before council before. This updates, and with the new finding from 2022, it takes that into consideration. So, at that time, does council have any comments or questions about 8.3, about 9.3, sorry? No questions, comments, concerns? Then I would entertain a motion. What? No, they're on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
They're coming up.
Okay,
Yeah, they're on the agenda to talk about this.
something else, okay.
Yeah, no, this is the ordinance that's already
Got it.
to be voted on. Or not voted on, depends on what council wants to do. So at this time, I would entertain a motion one way or the other.
I'll make a motion that we approve the ordinance as written.
A second.
I have a motion by Councilman McGuire, seconded by Councilman Martin to approve the ordinance as written, as read. All those in favor? That passed unanimously. 9.4, consider with possible action conditional use permit. Now, this is, yes, this is where y'all will come up. I have 9.4.
26.
This is to consider and, that's 9.5, sorry.
Page 26.
Yeah, that's up there. Consider and act upon approving a conditional use permit for Clyde One Stop to install gaming machines. Again, this is what we just, part of what we're talking about, but y'all do have some ideas. This is where, if y'all would come forward and kind of tell us what y'all are thinking and what you're wanting. And, name and address for the record.
My name is Rahul Kunta. Rahul, R-A-H.
Did you sign in back there?
Yes.
I'm good.
She'll
Just
take
need
it
your
off that.
address.
Our home address or how is that?
The business address, is it the 105 South First?
105
Okay,
South
that's
First
fine.
Okay,
All right.
all
Thank you,
you,
Mayor Brown. Thank you, Council,
yes.
for hearing us. So, I mean, I would say the one-line statement, so we want to request for the conditional use permit of the gaming machines.
Okay, so the gaming machines is just the part that y'all wanna talk about?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me tell you, I'll read you what this is. So Article 4.04, gaming machines. Definitions of gaming machine is amusement machine, means any kind of machine or device operate, and I'll make a copy of this, so you guys can have a copy, so you'll have this to see one, so. To be operated by or with a coin or other United States currency, metal slug, token, electronic card, or check, including a amusement machine or skill or pleasure amusement machine, as those terms are defined herein. Eight-liner means an electronic gaming machine that resembles a slot machine in which a player wins if a horizontal, vertical, or diagonal row of objects line up, where for consideration the player has a chance to win a prize. The term includes, but is not limited to, video reel, video keno, video bingo games, and similar gaming machines. The term does not include an amusement machine as defined by this section. Those are the ones that said, that list gaming machines. There's gambling device, which I don't think that's what you are looking at there. Machine operator means any person owning, exhibiting, placing, and/or operating an amusement machine within the city limits. It goes on to talk about music, amusement machine, skill or pleasure amusement, and then it goes into the gambling and what's prohibited gambling-wise and stuff. So the gaming mainly addresses the type of slot machine style, eight-liner that, you know, again, is a term that they have now, and it kind of represents a vast type of those. So I'm not sure what y'all are kind of looking at wanting to put in there for the conditional use permit.
The eight-liner
The
machines,
eight-liner, okay.
the one which we used to have earlier. The same.
Yeah, like y'all, because I remember when y'all had some in there
Yeah.
before, yeah. And of course, we came up, this came up before council before at that time too. So this part that we're adopting here doesn't even change what we had talked about then. That part was still in effect as far as not allowing eight-liner machines. Because Texas Constitution itself, not even the city of Clyde, Texas Constitution has declared them illegal and not allowed. So even if we wanted to, we couldn't. It's still a violation of state law, so we couldn't do that anyway. What I might suggest to you is, since this is on an agenda item for consideration, what I might suggest is, since we've done all this, let's get this paperwork to y'all. And then if y'all would, we'll just table this for tonight. So, I mean, again, if we vote on it tonight, it's illegal. It's not gonna vote. If we table this for January, give you all this information, all the ordinances, everything that's updated, and then have y'all come in and work with Chris and Connie, work with staff to see what we figure out, how we might what it is that you can do and are allowed to do and authorized to do, and see how we can make that work. But, you know, that way, that'll give us a little more time with all this.
Yeah,
Does
absolutely.
that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's Chris and I'm Connie.
Got it.
Yeah, you're right, that could go either way, yes, it is. Very good. All right, well then, gentlemen, we won't take any action on this tonight.
Yes, sir,
We will
sure.
move this to January's meeting. Okay, and if y'all hang around after,
Do we need a motion to table that or
no, we don't have to take any action on it.
to table it?
We don't have,
Table it. I'll
Just table
put
it.
it in the minutes that it
Okay,
was
whatever.
tabled till the January meeting.
okay,
Sounds good.
that'll work too then. Then it'll be tabled till January. But again, after the meeting, let's get you a copy of this.
Sure,
Unless, if y'all wanna wait around to the end of the meeting, you can come by in the morning and Connie can get y'all a copy of it in the morning, whatever y'all wanna do. You gonna-
We'll wait. We'll wait
Okay,
today.
that'll work. Yeah, it's not gonna take not be much
Absolutely,
longer.
we'll wait.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you again.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 9.5.
No.
They were Yeah, they were. Consider an act upon adopting an ordinance of the City of Clyde, Texas, amending Chapter 3, Building Regulations, Article 301, General Provisions of the Clyde Code of Ordinances, amending Section 3.01.003, Building and Residential Codes adopted to specify the year of the code adopted, and adding Section 3.01.004, Other Uniform Codes adopted, to adopt other uniform construction codes and establishing an effective date. Mr. McGuire?
So, Mr. Mayor, council, citizens, roughly 2 years ago, we adopted the building codes, and we brought on Bureau Veritas as our inspection company that handles everything as third party. The way the original ordinance was written, it triggered automatic code adoption. So we would be bumping up against adopting the most current codes come January. It's not in the best interest of the city to do that. What we're trying to do is protect citizens and protect everybody with current codes, but we're also trying to align our codes with the city of Abilene. We've heard from a number of builders that they think that the code requirements, we hear the argument that Abilene doesn't do it, you're imposing something that Abilene doesn't. Well, the city of Abilene has adopted these codes as well, and Steve is here from Bureau Veritas, and he can explain the whole code process, but this essentially will align us specifically with the city of Abilene, and that way, anybody that's a contractor that's doing business in Abilene will understand the codes, be working to the codes, will be doing the same thing when they come to the city of Clyde. And it takes that disparity argument away, that we're doing something that's more onerous or restrictive than the city of Abilene is doing. So Steve can give you a little more subject matter expert.
Would like for me to come up here?
If you wouldn't mind, Steve. And
All right, I'm Stephen Nice. Appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Mayor and council.
Thank you.
Well, what kind of questions do you have about the process or the codes?
The one question I had on this is just when talking just now that adopting it, and the same thing with Abilene. So in reading that part about it being a auto code adoption, that's one of the two things we're doing here is to not have that automatically updated just because we do. So if we do this ordinance here, the way that we were looking at it, then that'll take the automated part of it out.
Yes.
It's still something we could adopt if we wanted to, then we would just come back and adopt certain issues of it and everything.
Right, so ideally, we want to stay 2 to 3 years behind the current code adoption. That gives all the skills trades time to get familiar with the changes in the requirements, and we're not creating issues where people are pulling building permits and they think that they're building to the old standard for us to come in and say, oh, by the way, this has changed. We don't want to add the time, money, expense to builders. We don't want to do things that discourage business development, but we want to create a very safe environment, and that was the overarching why we adopted codes to begin with. And now this puts us in line with where most of the skilled trades are coming out of, the contractors are coming out of Abilene. And now that both cities' codes are completely aligned, it takes away the argument that we're doing something different from Abilene, that this is not what Abilene has their contractors do.
Yeah.
Where it's a level playing field now for everybody, so
Good,
it safeguards the building process. Everything that's being done is being done to a code, it's being inspected to a code, but we're not leaning so far forward that we're creating situations where builders and contractors don't have the ability to be informed and slow down building process and add added expenses to them. And I know that we've had a number of contractors come in and meet with me, they've met with Terry, and I know that there's been citizens and contractors that have expressed concern to council. So I think this alleviates all of that while still meeting the full intent of why we adopted codes to begin with.
Yes, and just to add to that just a little bit, the ICC, International Code Council, that code family that governs the release of each code publication when it gets released, they do that every 3 years. So you have 2018, 2021, 2024. So we're approaching that very quickly. And most cities that, we have over 200 cities in Texas that we serve. I would say most of them try to stay within 2 code cycles to current, which would mean 2021 is right on. Even 2018 would be okay to stay within that. But that paired up with what Abilene's doing, with the addition of one amendment, was that ever discussed, the amendment to the energy code?
Yes.
Abilene, is that on
Yeah,
the?
that's in
That would
ours
be
as well.
accepted? And that would be excellent. In my opinion, that would definitely stop some of the traffic coming in of bewilderment in regard to some of the strict energy codes that we do have to enforce on your behalf. And it will relax the 2021 energy codes to an extent, but it would still be one excellent house or building constructed in comparison to just a few years ago. But as they keep going stricter and stricter, it makes it to where under the current codes, if you don't make that amendment,
Yeah.
every wall on a residential build would have to be 2x6 walls on the exterior wall, just to fit the insulation in there, unless it was offset by other code provisions in what they call res checks, which is a compilation of prescriptive means to meet the intent of the code. That's a lot of technical jargon, but just to keep it simple, if somebody needs to know, how do I insulate this exterior wall? We can give them a value-looking code, and they would have to go to a 2x6 wall.
Well,
So Abilene, their amendment did go into that and really cleared some things up. Also, the testing requirements would make it field verification as opposed to getting a third party to come out of Lubbock or Fort Worth to serve this area.
good.
And that's been a concern of the number of the builders, is that if we adopted the full energy code, as Steve explained, to the strictest part of the standard, 2x6 construction is not something that's done in the southern parts of the United States. Now you move into the cold zones in the Northeast, 2x6 is standard outside walls, exterior walls. But we don't have the weather and the conditions that require that level of energy conservation. So this becomes the middle ground. It's not a compromise, but it still protects the homeowner, the people that are making the investment and doing the build. They're getting an energy efficient home, and we're still doing everything to the spirit of the code.
Good. It's good business. Council have any questions or thoughts for Steve?
I have 2 questions. International Code Council, who are the internationals?
Well, it's a group that has representation from cities and builders all across the United States.
That's national.
Yes.
Who's international? Canada, Mexico?
Well, they don't have input on the International Code Council, except if they choose to adopt that, they could adopt, it'd be like,
Okay, so
US
that word's not about geography then?
I would say it just means, it's a presence that serves the entire United States.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna make myself a note, US, okay. Another thing is a comment. As long as we are not adopting anything that is automatic,
Yeah.
that allows our citizens and us and anybody else that might want to participate in the decision-making.
Yes.
So that's a very positive thing in my thinking.
And that's what we recommend as well, because it gives you control
Yeah.
as a city to say, this is how we want to implement it, especially if there's a major code change coming that nobody even knows about yet. It could hit you very hard, very quickly.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for the, yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Great comment, too. Smart. Council have any other thoughts, questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance as it's written.
Move that we adopt the ordinance as written.
Second,
Cut you completely out. All right, I have a motion by Councilman Martin, seconded by Councilwoman Kaufman to adopt the ordinance. All those in favor? All right, that passes unanimously. Moving on to 10.0, this is our financial statement. Council's had an opportunity to look over our financial statement. Do you have any discussion? Looks good. Seeing no discussion, I'll move to 11.0. This is to, motion for adjournment.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman McGuire, seconded by Councilman Record to adjourn. All those in favor? Y'all get out of here. If you guys will stick around, we'll get you taken care of. Mr. Reed, thank you for being here. Staff, thank you guys very much. And Steve, thank you for the information. We
Mr.
appreciate
Reed, I
it.
was so sorry to hear about your Do I what?
This ordinance, so we can give them a copy of.
Let me get a card for you
Yeah, do you
guys.
wanna sign it first, so it's legal?
Yeah, you have that. I mean,
Yes.
can we do that? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What kind of plaque are you gonna be giving that you talked about?
There's